Hey Strong Girls, I'm Molly Herford, sports journalist, ultra runner, cyclist, and author, and founder of Strong Girl Publishing.
And I'm Dr. Sasha Gollish, executive director of Yellow Running Shoes, a researcher, engineer, elite runner, and your BFF who's breaking down the science of smashing barriers in women's sports.
Think of us as the intersection of science and culture for women and girls in sport. Each week, we'll dissect the latest headlines and cutting-edge research on female athletes.
Debunk myths about girls in sport. Talk about how hormones affect performance at every age, to the latest research in sports science around mental performance, nutrition, equipment, and so much more.
And we'll spotlight badass girls and women who are rewriting the rules of the game, sometimes literally.
Expect it to be nerdy.
And occasionally TMI.
But it will always be honest.
Whether you're a strong girl yourself or you're raising one, this show is for you. Welcome to Strong Girl Talk,
where sports science meets sisterhood.
Hello. Welcome back to an episode of Strong Girl Talk. We are here live as we record. I'm Molly Herford. That's Dr. Sasha Gollish. Sasha, how's it going? I'm so excited we get to do this IRL again.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see your new house.
I'm very excited about that too.
I mean, okay, so like organized offices are like, they're just the best. This is pretty inspiring. So you've got this like mood board that you look at when you're doing work. There's this like great bookshelf behind me with stickers, inspiring books. Like, when's this hitting the gram?
I know. You know what? It's actually weirdly difficult. I don't know if you've had this experience trying to take pictures of interiors and make them look good. Because every time I take a photo of anything in here, it looks like garbage. In my opinion. I'm sure it's probably fine. But I think there's like so much lighting and stuff, like which we actually realized when we were putting our old place up for sale and stuff, the photos that they took of our place, you're like, can I move into this place?
Is this my house? Because I didn't know that this was my house.
I was unaware, yeah. So it turns out, lighting in real estate photography is a very real thing that I would like to learn.
Jody, just call Jody.
That's true, actually. Yeah. Well, now that I have everything pretty much where I want it, now that my hair is cut, I can call Jody for a photo shoot. So it's time. It's back to school season, baby. I talked about this. This is my New Year's.
Well, and you just got your back to school haircut. I'm going to get my haircut. Maybe we just need to do a joint photo session. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going on a date.
There we go. But not for a while, because you are exiting Canada in a couple days here, heading to Tokyo. Talk about that upcoming trip.
Yeah, so actually it's Friday mid-afternoon. It's a good thing I actually looked at when my flight is. So Friday I'm heading to Tokyo for, I guess it's 7 days total by the time you cross the international date line for World Athletics World Championships. So when I get there, I probably won't go to the first night session, although if I'm up to it, I'm going to go. But I'm headed there so that I can get to the women's marathon the first morning I'm there.
Ooh, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're probably, I assume, most excited about the women's marathon. Any other highlights you're looking forward to?
Oh my gosh, what women's event am I not looking forward to?
Fair, yeah.
So the first night I guess it'll be the second night technically that I'm there. I mean, I'm probably going to have a very big sleep after arriving. But it's 400s and 1500s. So 400 preliminaries and 1500 semis. So we've got Kate Curran, Gabriella Stafford, and Lou Stafford in the 1500. I'm actually also really looking forward to the race walks towards the end of my trip. So nobody talks about the race walks. And I think it's really interesting, funny. We need to do a better job because fine, you don't have to walk like a race walker, but everybody can walk. And it's the one event that everybody can do if you're able-bodied. And okay, now if I could really have all the things in the world, I'd then like to fly across the world to India to see the para champs.
Yeah, totally.
But okay, so limited resources. But yes, I'm really looking forward to, I guess, all of the events. And really the throws. If I really was and I wish someone was talking about this, I can't remember, but how do we do a better job with field of being actually able to see it? Because you really need to watch field on TV. Because if you're in the stadium, and I can only afford tickets at the tippy top, because oh my gosh, are they expensive? You can't see the field.
Yeah. But it is such a fun part of it, which I honestly didn't really realize, if I'm being completely honest about it, until I was at Olympic trials in Canada last year, and I had a media pass, so I was actually down on the field.
Yeah.
And I got to go watch. And you know what? I'm going to be honest here. In a lot of ways, it's actually kind of more interesting.
Totally. And I think what's actually, I can't remember where you went to trials, but often the shot put field, sorry, this is bad, I should know it. The shot put area is separate from many of the Canadian tracks. So you can get like super close to it. So like hammer, discus, fine, you can't really, and you really should be far away from those flying. Yes. Javelin too, flying implements. But like shot put is an event that like you can get really close to. And it's so cool to see how much speed those athletes can generate.
For sure. And I love seeing some of I think we've talked about this before, the field athletes, the women in particular, really coming into their own with like personal style and personal branding and just honestly, the body diversity that happens in field as well just makes me so happy.
Yeah. Val Allman, can't wait to see you dance. I think it's Raven Rogers, U.S. athlete, just like shows up in the best outfits.
100%.
Anyways, yeah. Well, then, okay, we got to talk about the 100 then, because if we're going to talk about outfits, we got to talk about the 100 and the 100 hurdles. So,
you know, I am so jealous of track and field athletes for the fact that they can be pretty like done up for racing, or at least the shorter distances can, because, you know, we talked last week about my FKT attempt that I did, and you do not look good before, during, or after that, I will tell you. It is not great.
Well, and you wouldn't want to have any of those like gems or hair things because like you're out there for so long. Like, how are they going to interact with you?
No, like what are my nails going to do when I have to be like trying to like swoosh water into my thing from like a dirty creek? It's not going to work.
Okay, so none of you can see this. I'm totally taking a photo of DW right now, who is just leaning on Molly and her computer.
This is absurd. This dog.
We love you, DW. Thanks for being here for it.
Yeah, yeah. But on to other sports that have fabulous fashion. We have U.S. Open and rugby to talk about before we get into mountain biking.
Totally. So U.S. Open wrapped up. Actually, on the topic of outfits, they were all outstanding towards the end. Naomi Osaka, you still win for the number one outfit for me. So Arina Sabalenka won. She beat Amanda Anisimova. I was quite thankful that both the men's and women's finals started mid-afternoon Saturday and Sunday, so I could stop staying up until 1 a.m. because I did stay up. I did actually fall asleep during the Naomi Osaka and Amanda Anisimova match. And I really actually thought with the way the match was going that Osaka was going to take it, but it was pretty cool to see Anisimova end up in that final. For me, it was the camaraderie in the post-match conversations and how they lifted each other up, and Arina Sabalenka turning around to Anisimova being like, I promise you when you win, this moment will mean so much more. Because Anisimova has been in the last two finals and she's lost both of them, and she's been on a tear, but it was just, and like Sabalenka meant it. It wasn't like tokenism of like, oh, this maybe one day. She was like, no, you're coming. Like, you're going to figure out everybody's game. You have a big tennis game. Like, okay, world, watch out. Like, this could be a future number one. And she's got great mental game, too. They both do.
I love that, especially in light of the fact that last week, or maybe the week before, there was some less sportsmanlike conversation happening within women's tennis that didn't go great places. So
didn't go great places. Do you want me to talk about it?
If you want to.
So Taylor Townsend, I think you say it, Yelena Ostapenko. From what I understand, I haven't seen it. I didn't go looking. But in tennis, when the ball hits the net and another player, and you win the point, so you're the player that hits the ball and it hits the net, and the other player loses the point, you put your hands up kind of to hush the crowd. And I guess that happened with Taylor Townsend, and she didn't tell the crowd to sort of like hush up. Okay, so like it's kind of a funny privileged tennis rule when you say it out loud like that.
I really dislike any unwritten rule, to be honest. Like in any kind, this reeks of, I think a lot of our listeners understand bike racing a lot more than they understand this. This reeks of spirit of gravel.
Yes. Yeah. And so anyways, like this happens in tennis all the time. And so like, I think the crowd cheered because I don't think it was about the ball hitting the net, in all honesty. Taylor Townsend is an American player. She's a strong American Black woman playing at her home open. People are just so excited. And so there was a confrontation. I would say there's always fault on both sides, right? Like there was, Taylor Townsend was really in Ostapenko's face. And not sure if I believe her, if I don't, like, I'm going to go with I believe her. She used the word educate, right? Instead of etiquette. And she said that she didn't her grasp of the English language. And so but in no world, in either way, should either of those things been uttered from Ostapenka.
100%. Yeah. So, naturally it opened all these conversations. Is that racist? I'm going to say yes. Open and close that conversation right here. You heard it here millionth time, folks. But, it just sucks when the actual game gets overshadowed by stuff like that.
Totally. But I think also this is a really good opportunity to talk about the fact that, like, tennis has been a really racist game for a really long time.
Yeah.
Right? It reeks of money and privilege. And it actually it can be a really accessible game. And so how do we then say, okay, well, here are the, like, historic harms that have been done. Here are the, like, systemic things that are keeping people out. So this is a real opportunity to be like, okay, this totally happened. But instead of, like, repeating it, like, what can we do better? So I'd love to see, like, pickleball rackets and tennis rackets and balls, like, delivered to schools so that, like, we can just get kids playing the game. And we don't have to talk about what happened. We just want to get kids playing the game.
It is interesting to me now that I think back to recess and, all of that kind of thing as a kid. Weirdly, they don't provide things like even basketballs, despite basketball courts being on the, like, recess field. I think we actually at our school had a kind of crappy tennis court, but, like, there was a court of some type, but they never put out rackets or balls or anything. And it's like, those are prime opportunities for kids to try things and, like, see if they maybe like it in a way that, going to try out for a school team when you've never, touched a tennis racket is far too intimidating. But picking a racket up at recess because it's on the ground and you can.
Well, so from some of the research we did over the last year out of the lab, we actually asked Ontario schools, like, do you provide equipment at recess? And so from kids' perspectives and teachers' perspectives, like, overwhelmingly, the answer is no. And it's like, well, there's an opportunity. Just, like, what are you holding on to the equipment for? Like, it's supposed to wear out. Like, I get that you have to spend money on it. And, like, we don't do a very good job at spending money on, like, phys ed and physical activity and movement equipment. But here's a real opportunity to have a conversation about, like, oh, let's bring equipment back to the schools.
And I'm sorry, basketballs do not really wear out.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, they wear out, but, like, not in any, like...
Oh, no. Like, if you get the rubber ones, they last forever. You're not wrong. But yes, I was talking like a 10-year plan.
Yeah. Enough to play, like, a casual school sport.
Okay, so rugby is actually a sport I would love to bring to schools. And I'm not quite sure why it's not there. So, like, things I complained about last week, I don't know why rugby is not in schools. But it is really a game about etiquette and taking care of the other player and the ethics of the game, right? And so there's so many great rugby initiatives around the world. In the Philippines, there's the ethics of care of, like, you pick up garbage around the field before you play. Rugby is very, like, tackle-friendly, I want to say, game. But it's all about how do you do that without hurting somebody else. And so I think rugby is this, like, really cool, awesome opportunity for schools. I may or may not find time to figure out why it's not in schools. And I think especially as, like, Canada is now in the quarterfinals for rugby 15s. So World Cup of Rugby is happening in England. I sort of looked at it, I was like, oh, it's by Commonwealth. So it's like, and I don't know why. Like, why are some sports by Commonwealth? And you're looking at me like, what do you mean by that? Because the US is not part of the Commonwealth.
Yeah, it's true. I have no idea.
So UK is England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland. Can't say that apparently. But in the World Cup, it's England and Scotland. So, like, instead of playing as the UK, they're playing by Commonwealth countries, so England and Scotland.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, Canada's in the quarterfinal. They're playing Australia, which means they took the spot from the US. England is playing Scotland, which is like, okay, the UK is playing the UK. Like, all right. And then New Zealand, I think, is playing South Africa. And there is one other game happening. Anyways, quarterfinals happen this weekend. Canada was seeded number 2. England was seeded number 1. So I don't think I'm going to get to watch it with being in Japan, but I'll follow the results.
Of course you will. Of course you will. Okay, now on to topics I understand a little bit better. UCI World Championships or for mountain bike are still going on. It's a really long series of races because when we say mountain bike, it's downhill, it's enduro, it's marathon, it's cross country, it's short track. So
Don't forget the e-mountain bike race.
oh, and the e-mountain bike race. There's a lot happening.
There is. And did you see how spread out it was across Switzerland? Like, that's gotta make it so much more expensive. Like, cool to see the country, and not that Switzerland is an inexpensive place to visit.
No, it makes me long for the days of Super Worlds when they had all of the cycling disciplines overall. So they had road, they had track, like everything was there, all in Scotland.
Glasgow.
And it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it was way better for the federations, like, because
Yes.
they didn't have to send, their staff wasn't spread so thin. They could actually put all of their resources into this one thing versus I can't even imagine what the nightmare of trying to go to, several different locations in Switzerland with multiple athletes. And, you know, some athletes are competing in multiple disciplines, like the whole thing.
Whole thing. I mean, Switzerland is a small country. It's very train accessible. So, like, maybe it's easier than we think. Do you know? So, we're going to talk about the marathon. I'm not going to take away. I'm like giving you the, like, I'm going to lift you up here and let you talk about it. But do you know where the marathon was?
I do not.
Oh, okay. I forgot to look it up too. That's okay.
So just, quick, exciting things. Kate Courtney, American racer, she set the new record for the Leadville 100 last month, and she got her second world championship titles, this one in the marathon. So she won UCI XCO, so cross country Olympic, back in 2018. And this year, 7 years later, she won Marathon Worlds. And I think that's particularly awesome because it shows that her Leadville race wasn't a fluke. It wasn't kind of like she happened to get this. Like, it's pretty clear that she is the person right now for this, like, long distance. And I think that's a really cool, exciting thing. And I think what's cool about it is she raced the shorter distances first.
Yeah.
And now that she's getting a bit older, is graduating to the longer distances. Because I think right now we're seeing way too many young racers pushing the hours, the mileage, the volume, and doing these longer races. And I think they're even I see this in ultra running as well.
Totally.
And I think that younger people are actually better suited for shorter distances and then can turn to ultra and endurance mountain biking and gravel racing and stuff as they get older.
I mean, the research supports what you said. So, like, anecdotally, you're right. And by the research, you're also right.
Score.
Yeah.
Love when I'm right in both ways.
But so I'm fairly certain that the second place person in the marathon was Swiss. And so they would have had home course advantage. And I like in the marathon and in mountain bike for sure, like that. Huge. So like for Kate to come out on top, Kate won by about 3 minutes. So like it was a close race. Really speaks volumes to the volume, but also just like the intelligence behind her training.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And she's always been very open about sharing a lot of her training. And she does a lot of, like, I'll admit, like, wacky mobility and wacky strength that sometimes makes me raise an eyebrow. But to me, it means she's prioritizing strength and having fun with it. And I think that's what's kept her kind of healthy and
it's funny. So, like, that to me was like, I was like, Kate's always doing the right things because so often we as like endurance athletes, I was about to say runners, but as endurance athletes, we train the muscles that we're using. And this is why injuries happen. Yep. So while Kate Kate's been very open about her challenges in the XCC and the XCO, right? Like, but she's been very open about her strength training. And I think, if you look back, other than like acute injuries, like you fall, you break your wrist, can't really prevent that. Kate's not had overuse injuries where other athletes have. And I think it's because of the weird and wacky, wonderful workouts that she does in the gym.
Yes. And we should note she does, she has been friends with Kelly and Juliette Starrett for a long time. Yeah. So I think a lot of that is part of that influence, which we love to see.
Yeah, I do it every day. I should put it on there so you can see my weird and wonderful, wacky warm up every day.
Ooh, I love it. I'll copy it. Do it.
No, you'll look at me and go, I don't have time for that. I'm not doing that.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm terrible for that. But I'll say I'll attempt it. I won't, but I'll try.
Okay, can we talk about cross country?
We can talk about cross country. I know it's near and dear to your heart. You've got plans. We've got the season for it. Talk to me about it.
Yes, I did. I wrote plans for teachers. I wrote them to be welcoming and inclusive and fun. So, okay, I'm also going to plug, I'm on the advisory board for the Yorkville run, and I had brunch with a bunch of women after the race yesterday. And one of the women was like, hey, can you reach out to my school? She's an elementary mom, like elementary kid mom. They do cuts. There should be no cuts in cross country.
It's literally the one sport.
Yes.
The one where you don't need to have cuts. Right. You shouldn't have cuts.
But it's also the one where I want to talk about, like, okay, so there's probably people listening who are not runners or endurance people. The worst thing that you can do for yourself to try the sport of running is to go for a 10 to 15, 20-minute run. It's terrible. You feel awful. Your feet hurt. You have no form. Like, but think of anything. Think of any activity where you would just jump in, right? Like coding. Like, okay, I'm going super nerd for a moment, but like if I do 20 minutes of coding right now without having practiced for a long time, it is painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I saw this when I helped coach cross country a few years back, and it was sort of the impetus for my book, Running as Fast as We Can, that came out last year. Part of it was like, there's some practices in there that I write about that are based on what I kind of observed. And honestly, the first practice, and sorry if the person who ran it is listening, but it really made me sad because it was like a 3-mile run.
Oh, what's so mean? Why so mean?
And I remember seeing two girls in particular just fall off the back and like turn and go back to school,
right,
and did not come back.
Right. And so how do we stop that? So like the first practice should be like, just show up. And setting expectations. Like we were talking about this with some other stuff, like before we recorded, like set some expectations, like practices start at like, let's say 7:30 for argument's sake, like, and then do some dynamic and static stretching for the first 5 minutes because like people are going to be late. Do not call them out for being late. Please don't call them out for being late.
Definitely not practice number 1. Come on.
But anytime, imagine somebody's late because of something else happening in their house. The last thing, so then they're going to make an excuse. Have a private conversation. But what you can do at the next practice is like, hey, just as a reminder to everybody, practice starts at 7:30. And so that first week should just be about like staying within the schoolyard. So if people come like 15, 20 minutes late, let's say somebody didn't know there was a tryout and they show up and they're like, there's this really cool sport happening. I want to go jump in. Now all of a sudden they have like access to the sport as opposed to taking them into the neighborhood to go for a terrible run.
And you know what? If there are kids who are advanced, if we are in high school, you're talking about 4 years worth of kids. If there are advanced kids, like, sure, fine. Have like a separate practice thing that like the kids who've been there.
Have them as leaders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So the Ponzi scheme. Right? So, like, have the kids, and especially the club kids. So, one of the things with schools that are like, all club kids have to come to all practices and do them. These are children. Please don't make them practice twice a day. And please don't make them choose between club and school sport. But have them as leaders. Have them help you with attendance. Have them walk at the back, right? To be sweeped. I have turtle outfit, by the way. I have a turtle outfit for the elementary meets. But involve them in a way that actually makes more kids want to come out and that we don't overtrain them.
Yes, absolutely.
It's all in my notes, which is on the Google Drive.
Perfect. Okay. So can anyone access these plans? What's the plan with your plans?
So all the plans are like pre-written. Every week I'm going to try and update them with a little bit of news from what I've done. I may have posted them on YouTube as well and on the Substack, which makes me like super nervous to post videos without you there because I've never done it before and I don't like recording by myself.
Oh, it's terrifying. Yeah, there's a reason I like co-hosts.
So the Google Drive is free to access. You can copy and paste them, download whatever you want. The videos are obviously free to access. And then like, if you have any questions, just reach out on Instagram. I'm happy to answer them.
Perfect. And we'll include links to all of that in the show notes. Okay. I mean, I think we're really nicely teeing into cross country's here. That means back to school is here. This is our back to school month. And this week we wanted to talk about routines. We're now a week into school for most people, possibly 2 or 3, even depending on where your school is. I know in the South, in the US, they start like mid-August sometimes.
Can't imagine how hot that is.
It's brutal. Yeah. It's great if you so my family always goes down to Virginia Beach in the summer for a week. And we always went at the end of end of summer. So the beach was empty.
I love that.
Because everyone's back at school. Yeah, it was great. Okay, so back to school. That means you're getting back into routines. We talked last week about or sorry, 2 weeks ago, about giving your kids some grace as they come back in, or if you are the athlete back to school, giving yourself some grace as you get back into these new routines. But we also wanted to talk about the importance of a good routine and why it's really helpful to develop them. And I think, we talked about the fact that we have the book Power Up by Stevie Lynn Smith coming out. That's all young women's sports nutrition and kind of overall nutrition. And a lot of what we talk about in that book is routines and establishing these habits and stuff so that it's not a surprise when it's mealtime or not a surprise when it's snack time or whenever you hit practice, you're not shocked that you're hungry because you're not hungry because you've fueled at the right time before. You had the snack that you know you needed. So routines, not just a fun thing to say, very important for how we perform throughout our day. I think we should probably talk through your tenets for life. We've definitely talked about them on the show before, but they are worth revisiting because they were game changing for me.
Well, and I thought we could have a conversation about what our routines are around the 5 tenets for life. So they are sleep soundly, feed the machine, get moving, be intentional, and engineering your own excellence. Where do you want to start?
Let's go down the list because I think the first 3 are relatively easy, not in that they're easy to do, but they're pretty straightforward in terms of what they are. And the last 2 are a little bit more woo-woo isn't the right word.
No, woo-woo is totally the right word.
It's a little bit the right word, except for the fact that engineer is one of the words in there, and that is not a woo-woo word.
Yeah, it's not. But excellence is a total woo word. Anyways, okay, we'll get there.
Okay, sleeping soundly.
Do you have a sleep routine?
In that I go to bed early and get up at the same time with a light alarm. Yes. Do I have a fancy? If I actually back it out, I do.
Okay.
Right? I have lemon ginger tea before bed. So good. I always read in bed. My phone is in another, this is my new routine. So we'll have to talk about the idea of starting new routines. But as we moved a couple weeks ago, I was like, okay, this is a good chance for me to get my phone out of the room. Not because I scroll it at night. So I guess I don't really think about that as a new routine with my phone because I never was a night scroller.
Yeah.
Purposefully. But I was a morning scroller.
Right.
So my sleep routine is now phone is out of the room, reading till I'm tired, go to sleep. I'm a good sleeper. Sorry.
Me too. Which is so unfair to so many people. But I was thinking about this on my way over here about a lot of people complain about being a bad sleeper, but what are you doing to harm your sleep? So, probably less so for kids, but more so for the parents listening, caffeine, right? If you're in the afternoon, oh, I'm tired, I'm just going to have a coffee, you've now basically destroyed your sleep, right? So there's Amy Bender is my favorite sleep expert.
Oh, we love her, yeah.
We should probably have her as an
We
episode.
should have her on.
She says no caffeine, I think after 2. I'm a pretty, no caffeine after 12, and, really most days try to, cut it off at 11. Because it's also, just make better choices hydrating. So then if you think about it, if you think about cutting off caffeine and then on the flip side, think about hydration, right? So I love the lemon ginger tea routine, right? There's no caffeine, perfectly hydrating, electrolytes, which just a word that makes me cuckoo bananas because Christy Ashwanden said it so well on a podcast this weekend. Those electrolytes that you get in those tabs are actually the lowest common denominator of healthy electrolytes because you should be getting it from food. And lemon ginger tea is full of delicious electrolytes. Oh, and it tastes amazing.
Tastes amazing. I'm actually trying, my new routine is I'm actually trying to do fresh lemon and fresh ginger actually just in an infuser.
Cool.
With hot water. So there's just been all the stuff about microplastics and tea bags, blah, blah, blah. And I drink so much tea. Okay. That I was all right, let's see.
Well, and it's easier to do in the summer because it's just easy to get your hands on. So I actually do something really similar. I also drink ditch mint, which, do you have ditch mint around where you live?
Do not.
Oh, yeah, we have a ton of ditch mint. So, you definitely have to wash the ditch mint because it's either, peed on by a dog, a bear, a fox, whatever. But so, that hydration process, I read a book. I'm pretty intentional with my phone about, it's going to go over here. So, in my house, we have, an, where the phone would be, right? So, we have a phone desk, right, which then became, those are, gone to the dodo bird. But I leave my phone on the phone desk. And then I tend to read fiction. I can read some nonfiction if it's a story about someone, a biography. But if it's a book that's oh, I'm going to engage my brain, there's no going to sleep and I'm making notes. But that's my morning routine. So like when we talk about sleep, we often don't talk about like the wake up. And I get for some kids, like there's an alarm that has to go off. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't set your alarm so that it's so late that you're panicked to get to school, right? Like,
Oh, yes.
right? Like, so plan your sleep schedule so that you get enough sleep. So you have to plan to go to bed early enough to get up so that you're not panicked heading to school.
Huge. Yeah. How do you feel about like the light alarms? And I'll say like my take is if I have to wake up at a certain time, so we have a light alarm, so the light kind of clips on at a certain time. I use that most days because if I sleep a little longer, it's not a huge deal.
Right.
If you're a kid in school, that is not usually possible. I would actually, I think, though, try like a light alarm and set it maybe 10 minutes early and then have a backup alarm that's set for the time you actually need to be up.
Well, there's some pretty good combos out there, right? So like a light alarm with a clock. So a lot of people say, well, I have to have my phone in my room because I need a clock. Ladies and gentlemen, just buy an alarm clock.
Clocks have existed long before the smartphone, as it turns out.
Yeah. So I'm a big proponent of the light alarm and the alarm. Matthew, why am I blanking on his name? He was like the original sleep researcher.
Matthew Walker, maybe?
Yeah. So talked about alarms, and even he was like, listen, there's whatever alarm you need to get up in the morning, use it, right? Like there's no evidence that suggests like getting up to an alarm is a bad thing. What I do want to say is, so my alarm actually went off in the middle of a sleep cycle this morning. And it's just, your body can't catch up with the alarm going off. So it is normal then to feel groggier for longer. And so a lot of people are like, oh, within the first 15 minutes of waking up, you shouldn't be groggy. But there's a little bit of variance to that depending on where you are in your sleep cycle.
Right. So if you're a little groggy like one day and you're not the next, it doesn't necessarily mean that you didn't get enough sleep that night or something. It could actually just be what was going on in your sleep cycle when you woke up.
Totally. And actually, I think a better check-in, going back to like where we first started, is do you need a cup of coffee in the afternoon? And like some people need to naturally nap. I'm not one of them. And I think we would find that most people don't need to nap. And the research is there that you don't need to nap when you sleep well. I know there's people who have disrupted sleep, and that's really challenging. But if you have your phone there, like you're likely going to look at social media. So you're much better off to have, and if you can't, so I often read on my iPad purely because I go through books so quickly. And it's much easier to get them digitally from the library. But there's no social media on my iPad. There's no texting. There's no nothing.
Yep, same.
So that there's no engagement. And so you can read on an iPad. There's nothing wrong with that. Even if it's backlit, like there's overwhelming evidence that it actually doesn't affect your sleep. Where it interrupts your sleep is if you are looking at social media and hyper comparison, and if you're checking work emails, or if you think that like you have this like attachment to your phone where you're like, oh, I need to be checking, then you cannot have a device near you.
Yeah, for sure. I will say with the iPad, I turn down the brightness.
Yeah.
Mine does shift to like warmer tones. And I actually have not a cover, it's like a screen protector almost. That's like, it actually makes it feel more like paper.
Like a matte protector, like the Kindle paper.
Yep. And that actually really made reading on it feel a little bit easier. I mainly got it because I had the Apple Pen and I was like writing and I wanted it to feel more like writing on paper.
Oh,
but then I realized actually from a reading perspective, it felt more like reading a book. So
good
recommend.
tip.
Yeah.
Yeah, good tip. I think that leads us into eating.
Definitely leads us into eating. Because that's what we want to do when we wake up. Because we need to feed the machine, especially if we're athletes, especially if we're athletes who have morning practices or are going to school or are using our brains or bodies in any way, shape, or form. So really everybody.
Yeah. And if actually, so my dog is like the laziest dog to wake up. But like when she is awake, like the first thing she does is like poke her food bowl. She's like, hey, right? So if we think about this from like an animal instinct, the first thing we really should be doing is eating, right? And so like, yes, I have a bad habit of pouring myself a cup of coffee to start. I'm not going to criticize myself for it. I do enough other things really well. Shortly after that, I have a glass of milk or chocolate milk, depending on what's in the fridge. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's about self-compassion. So Vanessa's book that's coming out, and then a little bit of like, what do you really need? And so juice is another good one to go straight to. Chocolate milk. I
love a chocolate milk. I always remember Matt Fitzgerald, the sports nutritionist, always mentioned it. And I remember he was getting interviewed on some podcast that was a little more on like the low carb keto side of things. And they were like, so you're like obsessed with chocolate milk. And he was like, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because it's great. And I was like, I love you.
Well, and I mean, most chocolate milk is low fat, like it's the 2%. Like, and if you're a growing athlete, you know, male or female, you need some fat. So like 2% chocolate milk.
Protein, carbs, fat. Brilliant.
Yeah. And in Canada, actually most North American milks, it's infused with vitamin D. So then you're getting a vitamin D supplement. So like just all the good things.
Yeah.
When you were in school, were you a morning of pack the lunch or a night before?
Ooh.
Actually, sorry, let's go back. You ate Doritos and Mountain
I was going
Dew.
to say, I don't know that you want to know my lunch habits back then, because it was a lot of vending machine, a lot of bagels, a lot of Doritos, a lot of Mountain Dew. Basically, like, it would be a what not to do, and very much like...
Asterix, the bagel, Stevie Lynn, bagels.
Okay, bagel is fantastic. But I would say, if you look at it, the fact that I was so... I use the phrase addicted, and I genuinely mean it, to Mountain Dew, where I was drinking like 2 liters a day as a teenager.
I don't know how your bladder took it. Other than that, okay.
Yeah, like the amount of caffeine that would have been surging through my body at all times, like clearly I was in a bad cycle, like nutritionally, sleep-wise, like activity level-wise, like it wasn't great.
So I might have been the disruptor child, like in the actual classroom, but I did pack a good lunch every day.
What did you pack?
Well, so actually thinking back, so my mom, I'm celebrating my mom here for a second. So my parents both went to work pretty early. And she basically was like, I'm not packing your lunch because if I pack your lunch, you're not going to eat it because it's full of stuff that you may not want. So it was all about this like autonomy when we were kids. Listen, I definitely grew up on Lunchables, right? Like that was the thing.
Cool. I mean, the cool kids had them.
Well, and then if you think about it, like it's a cracker, protein, and cheese. Fine, like the Lunchable itself is like not fabulous in its, but the idea behind it is great. And so like there was a lot of that, a lot of watermelon.
There's definitely a reason that millennial women are real into our charcuterie boards.
Oh yeah, we grew up with a Lunchable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And okay, so like effectively pack your child a charcuterie board, right? Like dried cured meats don't go bad, right? They can like probably be in the sun. Nobody died back then from eating them.
Yeah.
Very picky about apples. I brought you some crunchy ones today.
Hooray! I'm also picky about apples, so I'm very excited.
So like apples had to be crunchy, couldn't be cut up, right? So like, because if you cut them up, they go mealy. So back then it was a Gala. Now it would be a Honeycrisp probably. And then what would I have? I would have had granola bars in my bags for snack for sure. I rotated between like the Quaker ones and the sweet and salties, like kind of whatever like ended up in the house. We always had cookies. Like I always remember packing like 2 chocolate chip cookies or 2 Oreos for lunch. Often would come home and have like KD, like Kraft dinner, macaroni and cheese was like my favorite thing to come home to. If like, fine, like it's got a lot of salt in it now that I look back on it, but like it's protein and carbohydrate. And then I would go play sports.
I was going to say, and you were so active that you probably really needed it.
Maybe. I mean, I probably could have done so. Anyways, I grew up in a generation of like boxed things and packaged things were like that thing you fed your kid.
Yeah.
And I'd still say like do that. Like a box of KD is better than like most things. And so I think it's like figuring out with your kids, like we said in the previous episode about like what they like and like making sure that they get that balance between like protein, carbohydrate, and fat. And like don't shy away from the snacks. Like Bear Paws, I think, are a pretty good snack now from what I've sort of seen in lunches.
Mm-hmm. Well, and what I love about what your mom did for you is that, you know, she had everything you needed to make the lunch, but you were doing it. And how well did that serve you as you got older?
Totally. Actually, baby carrots were another thing that like absolutely loved packing, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
Like,
classic.
They're sweet and crunchy and like you can take them anywhere and eat them like between classes. And then dinners. So I think the big thing that like, you know, is like, how do you balance the after school snack and then still eating dinner, right? And like not eating too many. So like, how do you balance like, don't eat a big snack, have a nap, recycle repeats where like kid goes to bed late, gets up late, blah, blah, blah. So then how do you have like meals they want to eat? And, you know, like I think pasta is just such a naturally like easy thing to make. And there's like a lot of pastas now with like protein in them. Like just work with your kids. Stop working against them.
Absolutely. And I think this is where the routine side of it comes in. You know, figure out what the meal is. Like, what are your 5 dinners that you do every single, what's Monday night's dinner? What's Tuesday night dinners? What's Wednesday night dinners? et cetera, and just rinse and repeat every week. Like I don't want variety, and I am 38.
Right. And we all crave routine. Like, that's the point of this episode. Actually, breakfast for dinner, I'm just going to, like, point out.
Fantastic.
Right? Like, throw a little green salad on the side, you got your vegetables.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or throw some spinach in an omelet. Golden.
Oh, see, like, breakfast for dinner for me is, like,
Pancakes.
classic. Yeah. Bacon, eggs, pancakes, little green salad.
See, I would just do bacon, eggs with spinach in them, and pancakes.
Right.
And I do blueberry pancakes to throw some extra
Oh my God,
color in there.
totally had that in my head. And, like, put the chocolate chips in for your kids, right?
Yeah.
Blueberries and chocolate chips, fine. Like, what are you getting, 6 chocolate chips in a pancake?
Exactly.
Maybe 7.
Yeah. So I think thinking about that and having that as a routine so the kids know what to expect.
Yeah.
It's all about when you're that young, anything different. Like I was just talking to an expert today about change, and anything out of the ordinary is change, whether it's bad, good, neutral.
Right.
Change is change, and it's stressful for kids.
Yeah.
So keep it as routine as possible.
And, like, when there's those natural breaks, like Thanksgiving, like, maybe you change the routine then, or the Christmas holidays, and it's like, here are the 5, and actually I'd say 4, because, like, if you've made it to Friday, order in.
Yeah, leftovers or pizza. You're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, totally. And then, like, Saturday, Sunday, cook with your kids.
Yeah.
Right? So, okay, I think we've beaten Feed the Machine.
Feed the machine. All right, now that we've fed it, we can move it. Get moving. And we're not talking about doing intervals every day, obviously. And actually, this is where routines get tricky.
Yeah.
Because I think just a little grumpy sigh here. The hot girl routine, the it girl routine, the 3x30, the hard 75, the blue 70. I don't know.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red.
All of these TikTok fitness influency routine things where it's like, to get hot, do this every single day. This is crap. The problem with like training and routines is that, like, yes, training and moving regularly should be a routine, but it shouldn't be the same routine every day.
Well, okay, so except for the one of walk to school.
See episode with Juliette Starrett for more on bike buses and walking buses.
But you are correct. Like, every day shouldn't be the same with routine other than, like, walking to school. But I would say, like, when we talk about sleep soundly and feed the machine and get moving, those 3 things in getting your kids to school are really important. And so, like, timing, like, eat the bagel while walking to school. Like, you don't have to sit at the table and eat your bagel. Like, yeah, it would be great if you could do that. But if you're short on time, eat the food while walking to school, right? And then I guess after school, like, one of the things, I don't know, listen, I grew up playing, like, just playing in my neighborhood. There's no routine to that, but there's routine to that.
Yep.
Right? It's like that opportunity to, like, be able to play. And I guess routine, I think the mistake that people make on Instagram or on social media, sorry, I should say, when you were saying all that is routine isn't rigid. Routine is flexible and dynamic. And we've confused the 2 things, right? I didn't say rigid. I didn't say get up and be rigid. I said get up and have a routine, right? And so that ability to be flexible, like, oh my gosh. So again, like, so I woke up in a sleep cycle today. In all honesty, I went right back to sleep, and I woke up 20 minutes later after the sleep cycle was over. And did I punish myself? No, right? I was like, okay, here's the morning routine. I'm now going to read my book. Okay, actually, I'm going to press the button on the coffee machine first. And then I'm going to read my book. And then I'm going to have my chocolate milk. And then Harper and I are going to go for a walk. Harper's the dog, in case anybody's wondering. But it's that flexibility within routine that I think is so important in what you're getting at.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think this is where stuff like streaks do a huge disservice to people too.
Yes.
Where it's like, the run streak. And it's like, oh, great, you've run every day for 10 years. You're probably not running any faster. You're probably injured,
right.
Et cetera, et cetera. It just doesn't really allow for, and you've probably run miserable a lot of times.
Right.
Is the other part of that. Like, it doesn't allow for flexibility. So I'm really into my morning routine of my 10, 12 minute strength yoga core thing that I've done almost every day for going on 10 years now.
Okay.
Do I skip days? Absolutely.
Right.
Do I do days where I do 2 minutes of the 12 minutes? Absolutely.
Right.
Like, if I'm in an airport, am I going to, like, plank on the ground for 5 minutes? No, that's gross. Will I do a couple sun salutations and maybe a couple lunges? Sure.
Yeah, totally. And, I was thinking about like, as you were saying that, like the streaks should be, how many days can you do it differently? The streak should be 0 or infinity, depending on how you want to look at it. But there should be no streak. So, okay, talking about being flexible. So, like, it's been really challenging for me with the fitness routine, right? Like, being like, how do you figure out how to exercise, like, after being a pro athlete? So I have this, like, I have my new favorite way to work out, and you're going to be like, oh my God, Sasha, what is wrong with you? But, like, just remember, this is, like, my kind of fun. So in Connor's gym at the cottage, he has battle ropes, and I am obsessed with the battle ropes. And I've been working up from doing these 30, so I started at 24 minutes, so 3-minute intervals. And I started with 30 seconds with the battle ropes. And then I put the treadmill at, I think I have it at 10 as an incline. And then I put it at speed like 4.5, right? And walk in between. And like the joy that I get from doing these workouts. I did one today before I came. I did one in my basement the other day back in Toronto. I have an elliptical. I can elliptical pain-free. And so I was doing like, what was I doing? 5 minutes of elliptical, and then I would do a full set of strength. So like squats, something arms, something core, get on the ellip again for like 5 minutes, do that. I did that for like 75 minutes. But like, if you look at it by like social media standards, people would be like, what workout is that? I'm like, oh, the one that brings me joy.
The one that's effective for me right now.
Right. And I yeah, to your point about get moving, I think it's really important that like we find routine. I'm blanking on the researcher's name, and I don't even know how I'd find it, but she said, so if your goal is to be active 5 days a week, tell yourself you're going to be active 6 days a week. Because when you make the mistake, you have the out. So 5, don't ask why. She actually gave the example of 5 and 6, so that's why I'm using that. Like, you really want to plan to be active like 4 to 5 days a week, right? But you really want to be active every single day, which is like why you should walk your kids to school.
But yeah, this is everyone listening to this, by the way, whether you're a coach, a parent, or the athlete. Get moved. Yeah, all of these routines apply.
Yeah, like that, like, but it's that routine of building walks in. So one of the things I've noticed, you know, going to Connor's gym is like I ride my bike there. So I drove once because we had this like teeming down rain where I was like, okay, well, I'm not quite set up there with like extra clothes that if I can change there. But I ride my bike, right? And it's a 2K bike ride. And it's like, great, but the number of people that just routinely get in their car. But for me, I have to now break the routine to get in the car, right? The Charles Duhigg, like creating habits, it takes, he says 3 to 4 weeks to like pattern that neurologically in your brain. To me, it breaks the routine of like getting in the car is a break of my routine as opposed to actively transporting, which is like the technical term. But like, how do you move your body to get places? And you have to be very deliberate with it at first, and then the get moving piece becomes so easy.
I think that's the cool thing with habits and routines is like, yes, they're hard to break. Yes, they're hard to change. But if you go at it intentionally, gotta be intentional in here since we're about to get to there, it is very possible to change your routine for the better. And I love the walking anywhere. Like, walking, riding. That's part of why I'm really excited about where we are now, because now we have a garage. It's a lot easier to ride the bikes places because I don't need to like wrangle them out of the condo. If the weather sucks, they don't need to go across floors inside when I'm back. It's fantastic. Very excited.
So I'm thinking back to UTMB 2024 in the men's OCC or CCC, apologies, but someone who works for Hoka won. And he credited his winning to the 15-minute bike rides he had to do for work. Right? It's that he was like, I'm going to be intentional about my training. I have a full-time job. I want to do this, right? Like moving between be intentional and get moving, right? It's like, how do we set those things up? I think, I'm like, when you're talking about changing, and I was thinking about like coaching and alpine skiing. And when you're teaching somebody something new, they're always like, well, that felt bad. And it's like, pause. You associate different with bad because it doesn't feel the same way, which is why change is so hard. So when you go from like your morning routine of like whatever it is to then walking to school, it is going to feel bad for the first 2 weeks. You will feel awful.
Yeah, it's not pleasant. Starting a strength routine,
oh my gosh.
Changing your strength routine. None of these things feel fun in the first few days.
But But to the be intentional point, and you said it earlier about your yoga routine, start with 2 minutes.
Yep.
Right? Like that, be intentional, do 2 minutes for 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden you've patterned a behavior. And then your body will start to crave more.
And I think be intentional also kind of reminds me of the current trend is this idea of like either slowing down or romanticizing one's life. And I do like be intentional for, like, I like the idea of romanticizing these routines, right? Like, I like the idea of thinking that breakfast is like a nice moment, or that like the walk to school is like a nice moment rather than like oh God, I have to do this. No, this is like an awesome chance, whether you're the student walking yourself and it's a good chance for you to like listen to music or a podcast or whatever. Or if you're a parent walking your kids to school, this is like a great chance to actually chat with your kids. And I mean, walking side by side, I think we talked about this really early on, is one of the best ways to have deep conversations with people, because you don't have to be like looking directly at them, as I'm like making awkward eye contact with Sasha while I say this. Like you know, you can be walking, not looking at someone, and have these deep conversations.
Well, and like to the point about that, put your phone away.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to have a deep, meaningful conversation with your kid, I can't remember who was listening to about a podcast about like the reason kids actually want screens is because that's what they're seeing us do.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you said that. I think, and again, be intentional. If you're a parent or coach listening to this, be intentional in that like your habits and your routines are what your kids are seeing and what your kids are going to emulate, whether or not you think they're going to.
Totally. I mean, like I was watching my sister's kids like want to be her, and they're always on their phones. And it's like, again, I'm not criticizing my sister. Like she's not the only one, but like put your phone away when you're walking. So I'm laughing at myself. So I took Harper for a walk this morning, and to your point about the walk, Brene Brown's an ordinary moment that brings you joy. The whole walk might not be enjoyable, but like, what's that one little moment? There was like light coming through the sky, reflecting on the water. And I was like, what is this like? Is the sky opening up? Is God reaching down to talk to me? But I had this moment. I was like, this is an ordinary moment of joy, right? And like dog walks can be like, it's a test of patience. Like you're sniffing, you're eating grass. You want to like find the ball, find the poop, blah, blah. But there's an ordinary moment of joy.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny. I have similar with the water where like I'll finish a long like hot run, especially during the summer, where it's extra work for me to go to the bay and jump in. Even though we live very close to it, it's still an extra, tenth of a mile that I'm going to then have to like hike back in wet stuff. But every time I make that time for it and I'm just like floating in the water, oh my gosh, it's good.
Yeah. Actually, I jumped in the lake after my workout today before I came here.
It's fantastic, right?
It's fantastic. Actually, as you said, I'm like, I left a whole bunch of stuff outside by the lake. Thank you for reminding me. But be intentional, right? Like I didn't have my phone with me on my walk this morning, right? Like I set that time up. And so like this then actually leads really well into engineer your own excellence. Like engineer the time, right? Like you can set your schedule. Like, yes, you have to go to work at some point, but like you can set when you wake up. You can set what groceries you buy. You can set when you're going to leave to walk to school. You can not even bring your phone, right? Like you can leave it behind to just be engaged with your kids and your community when you walk to and from school.
Absolutely.
But I have to touch on excellence because like, it's a pretty like, it's a loaded word, right? Like it's like a word that we like intrinsically know what it means, but everybody has a different definition.
And I'm glad you said excellence though, and not success. Because
what makes you crazy about success?
Nothing other than I think excellence doesn't necessarily have. Okay, actually, there is some. Success has a tangible outcome attached to it. You have to be like you're successful when, but I think you can be excellent in the journey to whatever it is that you want. There you go.
Okay, I love that. You do have to have success in your life because you have to have something that you can measure to reach targets. But what I really wanted to say about both of these is you get to set your own definition. And like growing up, it sounds like, I mean, like given where we are, there were expectations, right? There was an expectation of excellence. But excellence was giving it your all, not all the time. And when you messed up, it was owning it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
right? Like success was like, okay, did you try hard to get whatever grade it was on this test? Like, did you make an honest effort at reading this book? Did you make an honest effort at practicing your spelling words? Did you make an honest effort in the gym when they did rhythmic gymnastics, Sasha, when you thought that was the stupidest sport you'd ever seen?
I would actually love to see your rhythmic gymnastics.
Oh, it's I mean, just picture me like hammering at the battle ropes, and then you can picture rhythmic gymnastics.
Just you with one of the, what is it called?
The ribbon?
The ribbon? Yeah, the ribbon, like a battle rope.
Yeah, basically. Like curling for me was like, can I get the rock from one end to the other? Like, I'm not gentle. Like, I'm a little bit of a bull in a china shop. Like, I understand my limitations. But if someone had like excellence for me with rhythmic gymnastics could have been about like being intentional with my movements so that I could have actually been more powerful using those battle ropes.
Mm-hmm. And I think what's cool about that, though, is excellence changes
totally
with like thing to thing, right? Because your expectations for excellence in rhythmic gymnastics is very different than what your expectations for excellence would be running track.
Same with success, right?
Yep.
Like in how I'm going to measure it. But I think where we're getting hung up as like educators, coaches, parents, guardians, administrators is that there is this like high expectation and excellence is at this bar that isn't allowed to move. It's rigid, right? The whole point of this episode is that like things are supposed to be flexible. You don't have to be the best at everything, but pick something that you want to be great at and set that bar high for excellence there.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I really like the idea of taking some time to kind of think through what are sort of the main things that you do in a day, in a week, whatever, and defining what excellence looks like in all of them.
Well, it's almost like a yearly training plan of like the micro, meso, macro, right? And like excellence can change in the day. Like you can wake up and be like, "Whoa, this can be a tough day," right? And you can like lower the bar, and then it's like, well, why is today tough, right? The bar slips when you don't do the why and you don't like do the reflection and the critical thinking about the why, right? And then actually the excellence bar continues to go up by going back. But when we can't critically reflect and actually think about the things that are important to us, we can't be the best version of ourselves.
100%. Okay. You have a couple notes here about a couple of writers talking about routines that we wanted to mention here.
Am I allowed to swear? It's like she swore.
Okay, you're allowed to swear this one.
Okay, so, and I think this is really important from Anne Lamott. Anne Lamott is like one of my favorite authors, but also just one of my favorite writers. And she calls it the shitty first draft.
One of my favorite quotes and something I say to every Strong Girl Publishing author. Like, the first draft is not meant to be a banger. It's not going to be a banger. It's going to be crap. You don't get to a second draft, though, without your shitty first draft.
And Anne Lamott, that is probably quoting her word for word. Routines are the same.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, like we just had with, with strength, with the morning routine, with the sleep routine, these are going to look so ugly as you start them.
And don't do all of them at once, most importantly, right? Like if you're going to work on your sleep, it's going to take 6 months to a year, right? And just focus on that. Like the other things sort of start to naturally fall into place, but like focus on one. And then I think, as we talk about the poopy first draft, I won't swear again, the poopy first draft, write it down.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like you can't actually critically think and reflect upon what you're doing if you're not writing it down.
Okay, you know what I love so much about this conversation right now? Have I told you my biggest pet peeve? It's when business or like productivity or any podcast type people start talking about the marathon as their metaphor.
Oh,
for
in the
like,
sprint?
Yeah. Anytime they talk about running in any way, shape, or form.
None of them have gone for a run.
No, clearly none of them have ever run in their entire lives. Where they're like, well, business is a lot like a marathon. And I'm like, okay, but what about the
Really? You threw up this morning?
Yeah, like what about the P&L statement? All right, tell me about the LLC fund. Like, it is just like this BS like way they get out of actually giving tangible advice. So I really like that we are now kind of giving like athletic advice based on like writing advice.
True, yeah. But there's so much good wisdom. Like we often silo things and I think it's such a mistake, right? And so like...
Unless you're talking about marathon as a way to talk about your business. That just means you can't talk about your business in any kind of meaningful way.
Actually, you probably also don't understand your own business. So like you should probably stop talking about what you're talking about. And like you've also never run a 5,000 and I promise you that it is like the worst last 100 meters, just like the marathon. It's all the same.
Yep. Sorry, grump. Getting off my soapbox now.
But Joan Didion, who's another one of my favorite writers, right? She talks about like creating routines to be a good writer. And so like whatever you want to be good at, right? Like you actually just have to create these routines, right? So that you can be the best version of yourself. But like do not look at social media to figure out who your best version is. Like do the soul searching of like what's important to you.
And it's so hard. Like, oh my gosh.
Oh, and it can change.
Yeah. Oh, that's a huge part. Yeah. Especially for the young athletes listening to this or the parents of young athletes listening to this. When I think back to like a couple altercations I had with my mother growing up, they were almost always because I changed my mind about something and she was mad about it. And I think you and I talked about this with like quitting sports or changing sports in a past episode. It's hard as a parent when your kid wants to change their routine or change what success looks like to them because you've gotten on board with their current thing.
Totally. So you're disrupting their routine. That's actually why they're so angry.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
But yeah, it's so important to remember that like a 16-year-old is very different from the 18-year-old they're going to be in 2 years.
Compared to the 10-year-old that they were.
Yeah.
Right? And so like we also have to like temper our expectations and routines.
Yep. And I actually, as you said that, it gives me more sympathy for my mom because you're right. Like suddenly when I've decided to go vegetarian and she's giving me crap about it or go vegan and then go back to vegetarian or any of those decisions I made as a teen, it was hugely disruptive for her.
It was totally disruptive for her. Like all of a sudden you're changing her total, like how she went through the shopping or through the grocery store, which was one of my mother's favorite activities.
Yeah. Like, did she handle it well? Absolutely not. Do I now understand and have some empathy for it? Absolutely.
Totally. And so it's really interesting. I was having a leadership conversation with somebody this morning. I said I was late getting here. Like I had too many emergencies happening. And I just said like, there's a lot of talk about leadership and I want to be the empathetic leader. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to admit that I made a mistake. And maybe as parents, actually what we want to be is the empathetic parent where we hold our kids accountable, right? We help them set routines. We admit when we make mistakes. We apologize. Like we say sorry and mean it. Not the I'm sorry. And I think it was the flip of the hand that the JK teacher was talking about on the podcast just before I pulled in. But like not saying sorry is rote, but saying sorry meaningfully because it creates that connection. And then how do you both change your routine so that like when you like, okay, your dog is totally distracted right now, but like even fighting becomes routine.
Yeah.
Right? So then like how do you break that cycle of like what are you actually fighting about and like have an empathetic conversation and be an empathetic leader to your kid.
For sure. And kind of coming back to my vegan vegetarian cooking example or eating example, mom could have said, hey, this is a huge change for how I have to grocery shop
and cook
and the family's food budget and all of these things. Can we talk about what this looks like?
Yeah.
Instead of just being like irritated with me for being a teenager who's doing a thing that probably was really irritating, but as a teenager taking a stand, I did not see it that way.
Oh my god, how many stands did I take? How many
Oh my god, too many stands.
But like also to like the parents, like be self-compassionate when you make the mistakes. Like it's,
for sure.
Like do it better, but you're going to make mistakes and don't try to not be human.
Absolutely. Okay. I think that was pretty much everything that I wanted to bring up about routines. The only other thing I wanted to get to is, back to school is a great time to be kind of working on these routines. I wanted to talk about like how to change routines, like maybe a bit of like tangible things. And the one thing we talked about not changing, I like going negative. It's an easier way.
Okay. I'll figure out strength-based. You go.
Perfect. Done. So the things not to do, don't try to change everything at once.
Yeah.
Like that's, I think.
Pick one thing.
One thing. Do that. And until that feels like it's just natural till you're not thinking about it.
Yes.
That's the thing. The other big one is avoiding the tomorrow it will all be different fallacy. And this is the one that I still fall into all the time where it's, Tuesday and I still have like 9 things left on my to-do list. And I'm like, it's okay. Tomorrow I'm going to get up like a little early and tomorrow I'm really going to like nail these and all the work that I have tomorrow. I'm just going to get right through it. I'm going to have 10 hours of just real just go, go, go productivity and just get through. No, I'm not going to be a different person tomorrow. I'm still going to be me tomorrow. And tomorrow me doesn't want to do this like extra 9 things any more than today me wants to. And I'm not saying that means I should push through the 9.
Right.
But it just means like stop thinking that there's another you on the side of like the next day, the next week, the next month. It's the whole like, oh, I'll start again on Monday thing.
Right. And that's the be intentional, be present. That's Brad Stulberg's The Practice of Groundedness. I know he like doesn't like talking about that book and like who he was at the time, but like it is my like, sorry, it's so good. Like accept who you are in this present moment and work with it as opposed to working against it, because you get way less done when you work against yourself instead of working with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think right now there's a lot of conversation about future you and like being your embodying your future self and blah blah blah, and all of that's fine as long as you don't pretend that future you isn't you.
Also, don't wish your life away.
Oh my gosh, right? Like
that was my morning. Just so like I'm like I have to talk about being in the present. Like we don't get to pick when we're no longer here, and so like. We need to be rooted in the moment and not wish it away. Like, it's fine to be aspirational, for sure, but you have to be grounded in that aspiration to be like, but this is who I am now, and like celebrate your strengths. So you like to go gap, I like to go strengths. And I think Neil Henderson is a triathlon coach who helped Rowan Dennis win world championships and Olympics in the ITT. And he did it from a different perspective. He built from his strengths instead of his gaps. Because when he used the words, when we weaponize our strengths, we become a much better version of ourselves. And often those gaps start to close. But when we focus too much on our gaps, we actually lose the things that we're great at, which is an athlete and you're trying to be the best in the world. Not a good idea.
Yep. Oh, okay. Love that one. You're totally right. And I think actually that's probably as you're going to change routines, as you're thinking about this, it probably actually is the starting with the ones that you already have.
Yes.
That you're doing pretty well.
Totally. Absolutely. Start with what's going well. I, like, wholeheartedly agree. And write down why.
Practice those.
Yes.
Like, that's a great way to figure out how to change habits and how to change routines with stuff it's much harder to change the routines of the stuff that are more of your weaknesses.
Well, because then you start to see where there's these opportunities. Like, oh my gosh, like between these meetings or like between the end of work and picking my kids up, I have this 20 minutes. What am I going to do with it? What is like, I could doom scroll social media, or I could read this book. I could walk to here. I could jump on a bike. I could take these stairs. Like, there's just then this wealth of opportunities that open up as opposed to feeling like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get it all done?
Absolutely. Love it. Okay, let's wrap up there on routines. As always, let us know what you want to hear more of, who you want to hear from, etc. You can find us. You can find the podcast everywhere. StrongGirlPublishing.com/podcast has all the links. We're on Substack. You can follow me, follow Sasha, follow Strong Girl Publishing, follow Yellow Running Shoes, all of that. And we would so appreciate if you took time to rate and review the podcast.
And don't forget, we've got an upcoming author on the next episode.
Yes, we do.
With
very
a presale.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So stay tuned. Make sure you are subscribed, and we will catch you next week. Thanks so much for tuning into the Strong Girl Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, definitely head over to wherever you listen to podcasts and rate, review, and of course, subscribe so you never miss another episode. And head over to stronggirlpublishing.com to check out all of the books by Strong Girl Publishing's authors, including Molly Herford, Misha Powell, and so many more. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.